So FIRE is the buzzword these days, financial independent, retire early. I can understand everybody wants to retire and have a fantastic life. But is everybody ready to retire today? Because retirement needs lot of financial support. It's a long period of time where you are dependent on your financial. So let's find out that if you are ready to retire today with this simple Excel calculation. So let's take a very average expenditure today. Let's take that average expenditure, monthly expenditure today is 1 lakh, 1 lakh rupees, right? Let's consider the rate of return on our investment as 12%, right? So we will also consider rate of return on fixed incomes like bonds and all these kind of instruments, because it is very important to have this also in our portfolio during the retirement stage. So let's say that ROI on fixed income is 8%. We also have to consider inflation. So it is, let's consider an average inflation of 6%. So inflation is constantly depleting the value of your funds, and we have to be very mindful about this. Also, one of the most important thing is the tax aspect. You know that we cannot escape tax, and at this moment, the tax is 12.5% on the long-term capital gain. Post-retirement, you should have both the equity and debt in your portfolio. It makes a balanced, it gives a balance to your whole portfolio. So let's consider that the equity return is 12% per annum, right? So it's a quite a good number because our Nifty 50 index is supposed to give 12 to 13% return. So let's consider that the equity return is 12%. And let's consider debt return as 8%. Okay. We have indicated on the top also. Now considering the tax, what will be our post-tax return? So post-tax returns will be, so equity, right? So we have said that 12.5% is the tax. So this return minus, okay, so this into 12.5%, right? So this is the post-tax equity return, right? So same way for the debt. Okay, now for the debt, as I said that it is a slab wise, it is based on your income slab, so it will vary. But for the sake of the calculation, I consider that it's the same 12.5% on the debt instruments also, right? So let's take this. Right, so 7% is the post-tax return. So in the third step, now we have to consider the effect of the inflation, because as I said, inflation is always eating away the value of the money. So we have to see the effect of inflation. So as we have taken inflation as 6%, right? So equity return after inflation will be, so this is, we are calculating the real return rate of return after the inflation effect. Okay, so this is the inflation we have taken. Okay, so 4.24%. First, we can reduce the, right? So same way for the debt, what is the real rate of return will be? So 0.9% percentage you are allocating in equity, and how much percent you are allocating in debt, right? So post retirement, we don't want to play or take too much risk about our investment. So a very conservative approach may be 50-50 or at most 60-40, right? So 60% on debt and 60% on equity and for 40% on debt. So considering that 60% on equity, 40% on debt, right? So what we are earning, we will take 60% of this, okay? And what we are earning on debt, so this will have a contribution of 40%, right? So now this is the real figure. So effective return after considering, first of all, we consider the tax, then we consider the inflation, and thirdly, we consider the percentage allocation, right? So what is the total? So this is the 2.92% is the effective return. So our portfolio will return 2.92%. Now, as we assumed that our monthly requirement is 1 lakh, so that is 12 lakhs. So we want 12 lakhs per annum, right? So let's see that if you want to get 12 lakhs per annum with the inflation adjusted figure, so it comes to yeah. So the corpus required to give us 12 lakhs per annum is 4.1 crore, right? So, and also it is advisable that you should always consider some factor of safety because we do not know, because retirement stage is a long stage of 25, 30, 35 years, right? You should also consider that after you pass away, your partner may still live for another 5, 10 years, right? So this corpus has to fulfill both you and your spouse who lives after you, right? So you have to consider some 20% buffer. So if we say that how much is the buffer? So this into 20%, right? So effectively, the total corpus that you need today is roughly 4.92 crores. Okay, so if you have 4.92 crores today with you, feel happy to say goodbye to your job, to your boss, and you can retire and have a beautiful time with your family. You can travel and whatever you want to do, right? So hope this calculation is very helpful to you. Okay. Now, please understand, friends, that this Excel sheet, what we have calculated now, is correct theoretically. The real world scenario will be different because market doesn't move in one direction. Like for example, we have assumed 12% return. So this assumption is like every year market is going to go up 12%, right? But it is not and never going to happen in real world scenario. So in some years, the market will say move up by 25% or 30%. In some year, market may fall by 15%, 20%. So what is important is that it's not important, it's not just enough to select the mutual fund. What is important is that what is the purpose of selecting this mutual fund, how you have derived and come to this conclusion that you are going to invest in this mutual fund, then how this fund will behave in different market scenarios. When the market goes up, how this fund will perform, when market goes down, how this fund will perform, and what will be the implication of this fund performance on your portfolio, right? So, and then if it is not performing as per your requirement, as per your in line with your financial goal, then what will be the reallocation which is required to be done. So it's the same fund may be good for some person and it may not be good for you because it doesn't suit your profile, right? This is the most important aspect. So calibration, recalibration of the portfolio is one of the most important thing. You must have seen that many a times we see that, okay, my portfolio is doing great, right? You are 30% plus, 40% plus, and you are very happy, right? But you do not book profit. Why? Because the greed doesn't let you sell. And then one fine day, market suddenly collapses, and you see that this 40% profit you were making, it just vanished, and it fell down by 20% or 15% or whatever it is. So it is very important not to invest also. It is also important to know when you should exit from a fund, because every fund has a cycle, every business has a cycle. So it is important to understand that what is this business cycle this fund is catering to, and how is the market scenario with particular to that particular market segment. So these all has to be taken into consideration. These are all the practical aspects. Now you may be knowledgeable enough to handle all these things. If not, then you can take the help of a financial advisor who is very much going to be able to help you with these kind of scenarios. This is the only way you can make great money. Otherwise you will be just experimenting, and after many years of wastage of time, you will find that you are still lagging and not in line with your financial goals. Don't make that mistake. Don't play with your hard-earned money.